We are back with another chapter review. You may have noticed that we didn't do one last week. That wasn't because of any particular occasion. Well, let me put it this way. I have the project of this podcast to discuss the chapters as they come out and various topics and ideas with regards to the story. Certainly. But personal motivation, a little behind the scenes, lowering the veil of the kayfabe. What? But, I was willing to take on this project assigned to me by public safety, of course. Because, I would always be ranting about Chainsaw Man to people. It was always at the front of my mind. And still very good. I think about it often. But these last two chapters, I sort of didn't have anything to say about them. Now, with the latest one, there's some stuff to talk about, so we'll discuss a little bit, because we do have a break week coming up, and there's another special topic to discuss in that regard. But these last two chapters, what would I call this? I haven't had this in a long time. This happened to me quite a few times during part one. It's why I will make the controversial statement again and again. Part two has better pacing than part one if you were reading along weekly. If you were really keeping up week to week, which I didn't do at all in part one because it was so bad that it felt like it was wrong to read it that way. You know what I mean? It was like, this is not like, this chapter on its own is it's nothing, there's maybe some cool stuff in it, maybe some info here and there, but it's just not even that it's nothing interesting happens, but that how do I put it? This section of the story is not done, right? You think of a chapter in a novel, it's like a contained segment of a story. Whereas frequently in part one, and much less frequently in part two, one chapter would be like a third of a segment of a story. And if you had maybe 3 or 4 chapters back to back, then you have a real run of things occurring and events making sense and understanding what this piece of the story is about, literally about. Or, having some resolution of the current ongoing event, right? Which is not necessarily, every chapter doesn't have to do that. But for most of part two, I feel like the chapters come and go. It's at least a clean, here we go. This is what this chapter was. For these past two, it's felt like part of something larger. You know what I mean? So chapter 215 declaration of war. Yoru comes in, lays out the deal. Death comes in with a little bit of appeasement to the power scaler. It's like, why doesn't the Death Devil just fucking kill her? You know, we get a little narration so that nobody fucking loses their minds. This doesn't make sense. Okay, do some Sin of Sins due diligence. I don't really like that stuff, but you know, fair is fair. It is sort of a duty that you have as a storyteller. So, Death Devil, formerly artist formerly known as Fami, can't just blast death rays, or she might blast too many death rays, which, to my mind, again, very suspect. This character is still extremely suspicious. There's something going on there for sure. And I feel like that is looming over everything that has been going on. But she can't just blast out the death rays and kill Yoru and save the world, because she would kill everybody and probably cause the apocalypse herself, right? She can't control her own power. Something to that. This character is very interesting. I'm really, really fascinated with what he's going to do with the Death Devil in the end. Maybe nothing, which would be kind of silly, but I don't know. He's not really the kind of author to have like the Death Devil around and then she's just like, I don't know. I was in it for the pizza. Yeah, I don't know. But that's really why I didn't do one last week, because I didn't feel I thought I thought that in chapter 216 we would have, you know, the resolution reveal of what was occurring in the war and everything. It would be like a 2-part thing, but it's a 3-part thing. And this is when, like I said, the way he writes, it's really good if you can read it all at once. But if you're reading it piece by piece, there are moments where you're just like, I'm just gonna come back. Like, I'm just gonna stop reading it and read it in like chunks, in volumes, or what have you. Like, that's basically what I did with part 1. It's so sick. It was certainly the right way to read part 1. I think the serial for part 2, I mean, I got the fucking manga. I think it's been plenty interesting enough to discuss week to week. Chapters are more sort of coherent and bring like single ideas to the table that you can chew on and think about for a week for sure. But for this sequence of chapters, it seems like something bigger is at play. This is the final fight, I suppose, with the War Devil and Chainsaw Man. Yoru is at the peak of her power. You know I'm loving it. You know, I mean, I can't say I dislike these chapters. They are good. But it is simply difficult to, like, we didn't even know what's happening, you know, like, they're fighting, great, who will win? We'll find out. Asa and her mom, something, what's with that? We'll find out. Great, man. So, difficult to discuss, difficult to interpret. So I'm not really going to do locked down chapter discussion this week. I'm going to do something a little bit broader, sort of discuss where the story is at, like from a bigger picture, which I've mentioned a few times in the last few weeks, and also do a big Yoru check-in, just so everyone, because we are on. This is Yoru winning, right? We are in Yoru winning phase. It's been going on, but now she's really winning. So I just want to have everybody understand what's at play here. Why is Yoru winning? What is this all about? What the hell, man? And I gotta say, it's not nice. Let's put it that way. But we'll get to that. Before we do, let me introduce myself in the classic public safety fashion. My name, of course, is Secret Doves. My age is 35-year-old man yapping about manga. Yikes. And my contract is with the War Devil. It is what it is. Yoru wins. Yoru wins. Of course, we're on the verge of Yoru winning. Probably not winning, but probably winning against Pochita. I would guess. She's got this contract with the California governor that makes her immortal. Very reflective of Makima, which is an important aspect of this. So I went over this in a thread at one point. But just to reiterate, Chainsaw Man, the story, parts 1 and 2, the story. Very different structurally. Part 1 is like a take on the heroic cycle. So, monster of the week, fight the guy, beat the bad guy, win, next bad guy, find him, beat him, win, final bad guy, it's Makima, fighter, win, fiend, roll credits. It's a wonderful story structure. It's a classic. And within that, he was very more pushing on the boundaries of it, looking at it from a different perspective, asking the question what if the heroic cycle was a trap? What if it was a trap set to lure you in, and then it brought you to destruction? It focused your mind on your goals, your dreams, right? But that focus on your dreams was really a distraction, both from what you truly desire, which you aren't even addressing, because you're focused on the materialistic, hedonistic cycle that neoliberal security states, we're going to come back to that, create for you to engage with, rather than engage with, your emotional baggage, your personal trauma. And so it creates these very hurting people, these cycles of self-destruction and abuse, and delusion and addiction and depression, and man, really hitting all the angles. All of these instances of people buying into these motivations, these motivations. But rather than those motivations being like the rah, go punch the evil king, Luffy, and then we'll put the good king in, and then it'll be good. Okay. Brief tangent. One Piece is political, of course. It is highly political anime. The political commentary is pretty bad overall, I would say. Not great. But I like it because, it's just like punch the evil guy in the face and everything will be good, which is not how things are. That's why we punched the evil guys back in the 50s, late 40s, 50s, And hey, look at all that. Look at all this. Look at the world. There's other evil guys. There might even be good guys who aren't as maybe good as you thought. Or when the good guys enter into the structure of the system that is fundamentally exploitative and built on violence, they can't just be like, no more violence, no more exploitation. I mean, they could, but the whole thing would collapse, which people also wouldn't like and wouldn't even necessarily lead to less exploitation or violence, which is a very confusing aspect of the whole thing. But it's more fun to watch Luffy punch the guy in the head and then he dies or something, or he floats to the bottom of the ocean or whatever. Goes to Ultra Mega Jail and he'll never get out. Okay. Luffy punches a guy or girl a couple times, right? I don't know. It's weird when they punch women, right? But okay, fair is fair. I did not like Big Mom as villain. I liked Whole Cake Island though, but Big Mom, whatever. Kind of also whatever. Anyway, point is, it's very cathartic because there are a lot of evil motherfucking guys that are taking a part in these systems and benefiting from them greatly, and it would be pretty cool if we had a rubber man to enact our will for change upon the world, but we don't. That's a fake thing. Instead, we have real stuff, and that's what Chainsaw Man is about, which is not fun. Even though, the story's so cool. It's presented in such a fun way. It's fun and cool way. But when you get down to it, it's pretty tough. For example, as I was talking about with the, the heroic cycle was a trap. Your dreams are a distraction from the mechanisms of destruction which are coming to tear your life apart and send you into despair, because they want you to despair, because your despair is what unlocks the power that they want to extract from you. The power, the destruction, the violence and hatred and chaos and destruction within your heart. That's what they want. They want you to be a killing machine, a chaotic demon who can destroy the world, and they will manipulate it. So they want you to feel bad, which is why they put you in circumstances that make you feel bad. And then even if you do get some, only by their graciousness, if you do happen to get some level of comfort, it is always precarious, and they can always take it to you, and they want to take it from you because they want you to despair. And then there you go. That's great. Give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams. You know, that's really beside the point. The point is, society is all fucked up, and it's here to fuck you up. And if you manage to fight back in some way, maybe you can find some happiness. Maybe. That was part one. Very good. Very good. Very accurate with regards to its perspective on modern life, and especially the power relations that control it, and you know, the destruction and what have you, and the control. And within that, there was this character, Makima. And Makima was like the embodiment of the whole thing. The systems of control, the cycles of abuse, the hatred, condescension, and disdain that those systems hold for their subjects. That's a big one. The way the control works within those systems, the surveillance, the distraction, the media manipulation, all of this kind of stuff. Right? She had it all there. She was doing it all. Right? Very, very a character concentrated meaning. You know what I mean? All the meaning concentrated on this character. That's what makes her such a good singular character. Just a standout. Like, holy shit. She really captures everything. Plus, she's a baddie. Plus, she's insane. Everybody knows guys love that. One man to another. It's fictional. Don't, I mean, even in fiction, in Chainsaw Man, you can see, you don't want to go there. You gotta go there. Just, that's fantasy land. Find yourself a nice girl who is like supportive and rich. Makima was rich though. Maybe. Look, it's 2025. You do what you gotta do. Right, we see part one, this whole story, all the ideas in it, the very bleak and like, yeah. Let me take a look at the heroic cycle. What can I do about this? What if it was total shit and evil instead of anything good at all? Interesting. Well, not total shit though, because people did get saved, and I think that will come around in part two as well. But I don't know, because a lot of fucking bystanders have died. This is very interesting to me. I think we might see it with regards to Asa. I don't know. Okay, we'll talk about it at the end. Wait, I do like this story though. But I just wish these 3 chapters were all in one, Give me one big chapter. This is when the monthly schedule would be saucy. Not to get better art, but just to get a big chunk of the story in one go, so you don't have to sit and be like, okay, what's gonna where is this going? Going back to part 1, that's how I felt about Reze Arc. In the middle of reading Reze Arc, when it was running live back in the day, I started reading it. It was super cool. There were a few chapters in, and then they were like, and now we're gonna go to the school and meet up. And I was like, okay, I guess they're gonna go to the school and meet up. What's gonna happen at school? They did go to the school and meet up, and it was like the big reveal. And so I was like, whoa, that big reveal was so sick. But like the chapter before it was not that interesting. It was kind of interesting, but it would be way more interesting to read that chapter and then this chapter. Ooh, it'd be so much cooler, right? And then the fight started, and just like the fight is going, and it's just like going. She's blowing shit up and fighting, and you're just sort of like, okay, how's the fight gonna end? Basically, like, what are we? The tornado guy comes in, and that's pretty crazy, and you know, shark tornado reference, very fun. Once again, just like 215 and 216, cool, interesting ideas, exciting, but just like much more satisfying to read in one go than being like, okay, this little bit of the fight, okay, that happened, then this little bit of the fight, okay, that happened the next week, okay, is this fight gonna end next week, or is it, and you get to the point in your mind, it's like, I'm just gonna wait for the fucking thing to end. I'm just gonna wait for the fight to end so they can read it in one go, because that just feels like, it doesn't feel right to read it this way. It feels, you're like, oh, and then if you read them all back to back, you're like, yeah, oh, and then you just bam, slam into the conclusion, and you're like, Raise the Ark is peak. But when you read it in chunk to chunk, you're just like, this is not made for this. This doesn't feel right, So I'm very excited to go back through, especially this last part of the story. I feel like he was doing really good for a really long time in part 2, and in this last part, I feel like there's been more chapters that feel like in between things, that feel like a middle section of like a larger thing going on, and so it's been a little bit hard to sort of like keep a hold of the narrative, especially when the story structure is already so weird. Right, but it's fair. It's his style. I think he's sort of in his bag here at the end, just really letting not giving a hoot and holler about nothing, just being like, let me pop off for the ending. Okay. Regardless, this is a tangent about how I dropped the Res Arc because it was good and I just wanted to read it in a form that felt better to read. Basically, it was so good that I was like, I don't want to read this in like these chunks. This is bad. Anyway. Back to the topic at hand. Yoru. Oh my god. Okay. Part 1. Makima. The security state, surveillance, control, domination, abuse. Yes, all of this. And then this like metaphor with abusive mothers, and then family abuse and state abuse, and very parallel. Kind of happening again here with Yoru. We'll see. We will see what we will see. Got all sorts of bodily functions going on in the bod. Oh, he's getting gunked up. Part 2. This one, part 1, you were sort of like, what is Makima's whole deal? And then in the end, it was like, control. Oh. And then that really painted the whole picture and give you the understanding of like what he was getting at with the whole thing. Very nice. Part 2, it's out the fucking gate. It's from the jump. We're talking about war. And I've said this many times to people. I'm like, part 2 is about war. And they're like, I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe that's one interpretation. And I'm like, hold on. Come on. Like, we've got the War Devil in the first chapter. She is like driving force of the story. Like it or not, it is what it is. That's what the story's about. I see many people like, I'm tired of this story being about Yoru. I'm like, always has been. Who do you think this story is about? Denji? Get real. No, I mean it is, but you know, in the same way part one is about Makima, and Denji is like the main character who through whom we analyze Makima. Part two, Yoru, and then Denji's the guy who gets all the shit happens to him. Yoru happens to him, you know. War happens to him, and through that, we understand war. We think about war, war devil. This is about war, you know. Big reveal chapter where the Death Devil is dropped and the whole plan is unveiled with Chainsaw Man and War Devil are supposed to be powered up for some reason. I still don't really know what that was all about. I sure would love to know. God damn it. This fucking guy. So annoying. But it was called Chainsaw Man War. And the plan was to start a war. And did start a war. And back in the early days when Asa and Yuko are going, what is this establishing, like, world building chapter? Some guys ranting about the war with the devils. Everyone's talking about war. You know, nuclear war chapter. That one just happened. Fuck America. Fuck the military industrial complex. Look at all these Americans cheering for war. The war devil. Look at the government's gonna sacrifice kids. You know what that's like? That's like war, because that's when the government sends young people to die. They sacrifice kids. That's war. It's war, right? We're talking about war. It's not a fun one. It is not a fun one. But it is kind of a fun manga, which I think is a little bit incongruous for many people, but so it goes. So it goes with Chainsaw Man. Irreverent and goofy. And I think that's frustrating people is that Yoru is winning. War is winning, which I don't think most people like to see, which is fair because you hate to see it in real life. But I would, in the same way that like Makima won in part one, and that was like what showed you the horror, the, you know, evil reality, right? Yoru developing through part two and coming into power and coming back is sort of almost like a continuation of that reveal from the end of part one, because the whole thing with like the neoliberal security state is that you are offered material comforts, personal ambitions, promotions, raises, money, capital. You can become a capitalist, an owner. You can exploit other people. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. They don't give a fuck what you're up to at all. In fact, they'll help you out if it suits them. It is what it is. We all know what it is. I mean, certainly I think we all know what it is at this point. If you're still like got your head in the sand, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I feel like you're probably being disingenuous if you don't think that's true. Like if you're as your client and you're like, no guys, hold on. Look buddy, It don't play that way no more. Where was I? Right? But the whole thing is like there's this veneer of like you're free and you're getting your dreams and we'll help you achieve your goals. You can join the military and we'll give you a car and a scholarship and what have you, right? Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Not for nothing, Public Safety Part 1 was basically a military unit. You know, child soldier, always a thing in shonen. Which I love that this, okay, another tangent. I love that there's this genre of battle shonen where it's like we have the youth fighting monsters. And then you eventually come to the reality, like, wait a minute. These are child soldiers. That's not good. And so you either just like ignore it, it's kind of Ichi the Witch mode. You're just like, no, it's fun to fight the monsters. This is like school or something. It's not like being a child soldier. That would be horrific. Or you're like, oh, they're child soldiers. Child soldiers. And that's like Evangelion. You're like, child soldiers. That's what this whole fucking story is about. Being a child soldier. You're like, okay, man. That's weird. But also kind of interesting. So let's go with it. But regardless, they were like adult soldiers. Mostly part one, except for Denji. He was a child soldier. Yoshida? Question mark? What was his deal? God, I already crashed out about that. I'm gonna crash out again. What was his deal? What? Who was that fucking guy? We can't go out like that, man. It can't go down like this, dude. We need something more. Even if Yoshida is giga dead, you know, even if he's dead for real, we need to know so many things. Like, we don't need to know. But if we don't know, that's so fucking scuffed, man. You don't get a pass from me on that one. That's too clever by half. You need something. We're talking a whole ass novel just for this guy or something. You know what I mean? You ain't skating by just like, he was a vague guy with vague motives and vague relations to everybody else. It's like, okay, man, then I don't fucking give a shit. How about that? You're not gonna write the story. I don't have to give a fuck about the story. I'll give a fuck about the rest of the story that she actually wrote. But this guy is just gonna be some stupid guy that you put in there to fuck around. Fuck off. That's my thoughts. Alright? Sorry, Yoshida fans. He done you dirty. That ain't right. You write the story, man. You fucking write the story. We don't write the fucking story. Fuck you. Anyway, this other part he is writing, and I think it is good. That one's... No, Mr. Fujimoto. That's too clever by way more than half. That's too clever by like a order of magnitude by 10 times. You tied yourself up in knots in your head. You're like, well, they'll figure it out, you know, if I just imply stuff. My fans are smart enough to read between the lines. We want to read your lines, man. That's why we're reading the fuck story. Give us some lines. God damn it. Anyway. Fuck, dude. I hope we get some. If there's a Kishibe comeback at any point, it can happen. Even Quan Chi can drop some lore, and she's already in the story. She doesn't need to come back. She already did come back. She's in the story. Presumably. All right, so there are ways it can happen. Also, the death devil is there. Also, didn't see the face on the dead body. We did see the earrings, but nothing a little sleight of hand won't take care of with some bullshit narrative, which is totally on the table because the Chainsaw Man is full of bullshit narrative moves. Don't forget, Yoru just died and then was fine immediately. How so? Well, apparently she has a contract with the governor of California that keeps her alive. Now, this is interesting to me because she died and came back before she ever mentioned this. So I do wonder if this was like a standing thing that she had in place that she had forgotten, right? And then her like ultimate power up with the nuclear weapon devil made her remember, and then she was like, wait a minute, I'm fucking goated actually. Wait a minute, I don't have to be all bitch made like this. I'm actually the fucking goat. I've been goated this whole time. I've been playing this like I was weak and scared, and I was powering up a bit, but there were things in play that I had forgotten about, and now I remember. I'm truly unlocked, unleashed, unhinged. Yoru unleashed. You hate to see it. Right, and why is she winning? Why are we watching Yoru just get fucking bullshit power-ups come out of nowhere and win and come back and destroy everything and beat everybody? Because that is how it goes. The Makima thing was like the neoliberal security state. It's nice to you on the surface, but underneath, it's all violence and domination and abuse and condescension and hatred, right? War. Freedom and liberty and hopes and dreams and achieving your material goals. A hierarchy of needs we will help you actualize. And we don't give a fuck about your actualization. You are a dog to us. We will destroy you if we want to. And we can. And we will. And we do a lot. Because that's what we do. And it serves our goals. If we want to do it, we will do it. And we can do it. To anybody, including you. We'll do it whenever we want. Right? So nice on the surface, war underneath, but you're not supposed to think about the war. You're not supposed to remember the war. The war has been erased from the people's minds. The suffering, the death, the destruction, the disease. We hide those away. You don't worry about those. We don't talk about those. We don't think about those. You know what I mean? Those are gone. We got rid of those. Right? You don't have to worry about that. But if you make people forget, then they will come back. That's the thing. And that's how it works. That's the thing with historical erasure. Right? Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I don't know who said it. Probably like 1 million people had it attributed to them. Probably just some random guy fucking said it. And then they were like, we'll attribute it to a smart guy. And then everyone will be like, that guy's smart. Probably not. It probably actually came from like a really good historian at some point. And then has been like pasted on the Gandhi's face like 10,000 times. I could look it up right now, but as you can tell, it really doesn't matter. Point being, that's a great quote, and it's true, right? Like, people who don't worry about war, who don't think about war, they don't want to think about it. That's so. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, if there's nothing I can do about it for everybody, then there's nothing anybody can do about it. And so then it's just gonna happen. Is that how it's gotta go? Really? Is there nothing you can do about it? Well, if you go that way and you just think about your life and like trying to get a car, going back to the falling level, there's that couple who's talking about should we get a car, should we not get a car? They are a couple of dreamers. It's better than everyone's like, no, we don't need a car because we live in Tokyo. We can ride the subway. And the guy's like, oh, but I want a car. I have these material aspirations. I gotta raise at work. I'm on the cycle. My dreams, my material goals. Yes, the hedonistic things. And then he throws himself to his death off a balcony randomly because of a devil gets summoned. Because that's what's going on. And you know who knew about it? The government knew about it. And you know what they did? They didn't do anything. And you know what they could do? Probably nothing as well. That is one another aspect of it. It's not only is the neoliberal state lying to you, they're lying to you because they're impotent. They can't help you. They don't know what to do. They don't have any special power. The only power they have is the power to maintain their own power, not actually to do the things that would protect you from harm, end wars and things like that. They don't have any ideas. They're literally just random fucking people trying to hold on to what power they have. They are not interested in anybody else particularly. They have a bunch of cope as for why it matters that they are in power, the future of Japan. And it's okay if we throw 10,000 kids in the meat grinder because we got big time, big vision. You know what I mean? Look, boom, big generative AI, the future. We're gonna change humanity into Roblox, and then our Gen AI will create Roblox games and everyone will just be playing Roblox all the time. You know what I mean? And then if there's pedophiles, well, it is what it is, right? That's Roblox. That was like a subtle Epstein list reference in there. You just gotta make sure this one never gets monetized on YouTube. But that's why we're seeing Yoru win now, because that is the end point of like the political discussion that is continuing through part one. Part one was all setting up, look, this is about historical erasure. This is about hiding the violence and destruction. This is about keeping people distracted, complacent, but then beneath the surface there's war and violence and control and abuse. And now in part two, it's all coming apart. Society is crumbling. And why is it crumbling? What is causing it to crumble? What is emerging from beneath the surface? War. The violent, destructive reality is getting its due. You liars, you fakers, you deceivers, you cannot hold on to power. War will come for you, and everyone who tries to manipulate it and control it and use it for their own ends, it will come stronger. You cannot control it. It is destruction. It is hatred. It is selfish abuse and loathing. It is passion and just disgusting stuff. It is war. It takes humans. There is no lofty goals. There is no actualization. It is just reduced to the animal, the sexual desire and the violent impulses and the base like animalistic, simple-minded, no plan, just destruction. I just get what I want, and I do it by taking it, and I don't care. I am selfish. That is war. And you can't control it. And everyone who tries to fails. And so all these people come in and they're like, oh, we'll start a war, and that will make these things happen, and that'll be good for us. No, it won't. You know what will happen? You'll be like, oh, and eventually I'll turn around and then I'll beat Yoru. And when I win against Yoru, it'll be fine. I will defeat war. I will beat war in a fight. What are you talking about? You see what I mean? That's why it's the war devil. And that's why Yoru wins. And that's why we're seeing Yoru win. And that's also why it's very frustrating, because you're watching all of the illusions fall away. They're all getting destroyed. They're all crumbling, not under war's power, because war was already there. War never went away. That's the whole thing. War was around. Nobody defeated it. Make no mistake. We are at war with the devils very early on in the manga, right? War was never gone. She was chilling. And war didn't come back because of anything she did. She came back because other people fucked up. Because they thought she would work for them. You know, she would, oh, you know, don't worry about war, you know, we'll power her up, we'll do some stuff, we'll do some little war, and yeah, the war that will get more powerful, but that's not even a big deal. Don't worry about the war, don't think about the war. You know what I mean? Certainly, the indestructible devil facility blew up, but you don't even worry about that. You don't need to worry about that. That's not a big deal. There's a lot of wars starting around the world because of some stuff that happened, but don't worry about that. Yeah. There's like this war with these Chainsaw Man devils that are destroying everything, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Eat some sushi. You know what I mean? Don't even worry about that. Yes, half the sushi places still burned down, but a couple of them are still open. You know what I mean? And they got a lot of sushi there. Don't even worry about that. You see what I'm saying? But then what happens? War is there, right? She's not doing it. The world is doing it, because the world was built on war. It just forgotten, and on purpose it had forgotten. So then now she's back, and now she's winning, not because anything changed, right? She didn't do anything to change the world to make it more warlike. It's just the war that was there in the world, hidden by what was Makima. Makima's role in the story. Makima's role was like this masquerade. That masquerade was exposed, and then in the aftermath of the masquerade being exposed, a war returns. Everybody remembers it. Oh yeah, wait a minute. We're fighting a war. Hold on. That's kind of crazy. Wait a minute. I'm going insane now. Relatable. Very, very relatable. If you're watching this in 2025, very relatable. There's a war going on. I'm going insane because wait a minute. Hold on. What is this normal? What are we talking about? What isn't there war? War is happening, right? Kind of, yes. Right, and now at the end here, with Asa and Yoru and her mother and everything, we're in the process of finding out through this stretch of chapters, instead of just like a couple chapters, there's like many multiple chapters, That's how this guy fucking writes his fucking story. After you pissed me off with the Yoshida thing, man. Dude. You better have something good. That's all I'm saying. He probably does, but you better have something good. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here. I get it with the Yoru. Everybody hates Yoru winning, which is fair. That's like the point. War returning is supposed to be like the horror. This is the underlying, like, this is like the true evil of the world exposed, right? So, it's not great. If you look at it, you're like, this is bad. You're right. But you see, I love it because, yes, I would like it more if it wasn't like so directly paralleling exactly the kind of shit that was happening in real life. Like, it's very like, yeah, like in fiction, I can be like, yes, rock and roll, destruction, evil, yes, show the world how fucked up it is. But now, like, kind of everybody knows how fucked up that we're like, wait, hold on. The world is super fucked up, and everything we believed in is like super evil and built on lies and violence and war and destruction. And that's like happening in reality. So going to the fictional version to be like, yeah, it's kind of gauche. I think it's kind of it's hard to enjoy it in its fictionality when it's a little too real right now, you know what I mean? But I'm still trying to, because it is like, have some fun with it, It's like the metal album where the guy's like, everything is, is like, yeah, my personal trauma with like abuse and stuff, also the government and war, and it's metal, right? That kind of like, yes, fucking evil. The world is fucking evil. Satan, blah, yeah. It's like that kind of feeling, That's, to me, that's my version of your fandom. It's like, yeah, she's evil. This is the true nature of modern society. It is selfish, abusive, destructive, heinous, absolutely horrible. Yes, metal. Right, Not that it's good, but that it's bad, and I'm kind of reveling in exposing the evil reality. But nowadays, the evil reality is not hidden. It's literally just, that's the real reality. There's no like, check out the devil. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Satan, probably real, and I think might be running the US government right now. You know what I mean? Yeah, Satan, sure. Evil, yep, 100%. War, totally get that. That's happening. It sucks. I don't like it. So it feels a little gauche to be like, oh, war devil right now. But I still, like, I've been here. I still do feel that way. It is what it is. Look, he didn't start these wars. Neither did I. I'm just enjoying some fiction. It's fucked up though. It's fucking weird. It's so weird that the war devil part started, and then he was like, I'm gonna show the underlying fascism and violence of society, and then society was like, oh, bet. Oh, you are? Well, sir. How about this? What did you do, Tatsuki? What did you do? This fucking guy. I don't know. But that's where I wanted you to have your mind with Yoru as we're going into the end phase. So basically now, at the end, Yoru wins. Yoru's winning. She's been winning, right? She'll probably win one more time, and then maybe something will happen. And that's sort of the really interesting part. But up until that point, this is like, that's why we're seeing Yoru win a bunch. It's gonna be all like frustrating, like what the fuck, right? But this is the comeuppance of the world, of all of the public safeties, the Chainsaw Man churches, the Death Devil who thought that they could do the dance, that war would dance in their little palm, that no, it fucks up everybody else's shit, but it won't fuck up mine. Okay, sure enough, and everybody keeps doing it, and the war just keeps growing and growing, and then before you know it, it's back, and everything is going to shit, and all the buildings are exploding, and burning down, and you got the kids with the bandages over their eyes and the burning, you see what I'm talking about? Yes, everything sucks. It's so horrible, it's disgusting, it's evil. So that's what I expect. And this has been my expectation of the story since the very beginning. I was very excited to see the War Devil come back, and to watch society get its comeuppance for its historical revisionism, right? Watching neoliberal society be exposed. This was a very interesting way to do it, right? I think it was kind of cool how Yoru didn't really do anything on her own, right? War, in and of itself, has no direction. That's why it's dangerous. So when you try to use it, you just get chaos. Because it's not, it is just that selfish destruction, hatred. That is what you are unleashing upon the world when you try to work with war. And then once you start, you don't know what kind of fucked up shit is gonna happen. So, an interesting way to do it. And now that war has come into her own within the Chainsaw Man story, she is going after exactly what she wants, nothing more, nothing less. She is fighting Chainsaw Man for the world, or whatever. But very clearly, I think she just wants to fight Chainsaw Man. She just wants to fight. The War Devil wants to fight in a war against Chainsaw Man. Awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah, of course. And everyone's like, oh, the apocalypse. Oh, the this and that. But again, that's all like this. That's all there. They're all, we're pulling the strings. Oh, Denji, you gotta save the world. Oh, Denji, no, you don't. You should get with Yoru instead. Well, Yoru doesn't give a fuck about that. She wants to go 2-1 over Chainsaw Man, so everybody knows she's the best. Because she wants to fight. She wants to destroy Chainsaw Man. That's what she wants to do. She's destruction. She's chaos. Violence. No, you can't. And then everyone's like, yeah, we can't stop her. Oops. That really is like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. You dance with war, that's what happens. Before you know it, there it is, back in full form, like you read about in the history books. Like, this doesn't happen anymore. Oh, but it can happen like that. And once it starts happening, it's gonna get way, it's gonna go way further than you thought. You can't just put it back in the bag. I feel like many Democrats these days are trying to put things back in the bag, and you can't. You cannot. in America, we have our own war devil that is out and about and dancing around, and a lot of people trying to pretend like they didn't have anything to do with that. But I think you did. I think you did, and you were pretending you didn't. See what I mean? Chainsaw Man's pretty good, you know? Pretty good. And so here we are. My big question is, where does Asa fit into that? That has been waylaid, placed aside, but now it's coming full center into the story. I am so fascinated by it, and I wish I had something to fucking say about it, and that it had been resolved in the last chapter, but I guess we are gonna wait a couple weeks. Because he did the same fucking cliffhanger twice. My man, come on. It was cool, though. 216 was very cool, and it had a lot of cool Yoru moments, which we didn't get so many of for a very long time in the story. Alright, I know y'all are fucking tired of it because she's like bad, but come on. Yoru's doing cool shit. Yes. Fuck yeah. War, destruction, evil. So fucking nasty. Chainsaw Man's fucked up. This guy really hates the world. I don't know. This is Chainsaw Man is like Fujimoto's stuff is very dark. Even when it's like heartwarming, it's dark. This guy's fucked up. This guy's got something wrong with him. We all knew that, though. At the end of these chapter reviews, this wasn't really a chapter review, but I did sort of give my thoughts about these last two chapters, which is I'm really interested to see where this goes right now, so I don't really have a lot to say before we do, which is a feeling that I felt a lot of times in part 1, and I haven't felt it that many times in part 2, but the past couple chapters I really haven't like, where is this going? Also, he's kind of like hinged a bunch of stuff on where this is going, like Yoshida going out like that. You better fucking have something good. I'm done with you. So I really want to know how it all plays out. But the Yoru winning and the way she wins, the fact that I didn't even really get into this because I had too many tangents. But the fact that she wins and she's copied Yoru Makima's flow, the fact that it's like the same thing as what's happening before, just to emphasize the fact that it's the same thing as what's happening before. The war is a continuation of the same thing we had. It is the culmination of what was happening in the background. It was hidden in part 1. Now it is in the front in part 2. But it is the same thing. That's why there's the parallelism. That's why it's a reflection. It's like Makima, but like no facade. Just up front doing it. No care. And everybody goes along with it because that's what they've been doing anyway. Right? Regardless. What do I think is going to happen in the next chapter? I said that I think we're going to see like some reveal about Asa and her mom's relationship being like fucked up in some way. Partly I think that just because I don't think I've ever read a work of Fujimoto where you come across a relationship between two characters. You're just like, yeah, they're just like, this is just a nice, wholesome one. You know what I mean? They're just like supportive friends and they like love each other and they like respect each other. They may have some conflicts from time to time, maybe some troubles and hardships within the relationship, but ultimately it was nice. No, I feel like Every relationship with Tatsuki Fujima's work is just all fucked up. This guy does not think of. This guy does not believe in like healthy shit. You know what I mean? He just thinks everything is just fucked up in different ways. Which I guess is. I don't know. Sure, man. Probably. We're probably right. But maybe. Sometimes it does get to me. I'm like, man, is life that bad? Because I have relationships in my life where I'm like, that's good. There may be some issues with it. Just issue me as a person in general. But like, I don't know. Overall good. Nothing particularly insidious within it per se. Maybe in some ways. But you don't have to be like that, man. Is it really that bad? I don't know. It's just his perspective. I don't necessarily agree with it 100%, but I find it very interesting, which is why I like his stories. And why I'm going to be excited to read the next chapter where whatever the fuck is going on actually fucking happens. Okay? This is when it fucking annoys me. It's like, oh, something's happening. What is happening? I don't know. Okay. I will wait around until I get to know. But it's the cereal, it's tough. So I give it the benefit of the doubt. It's not a problem. It's not a problem with the story at all. Some people take it that way. They're like, this story's fucked up or something. No, it's just his style is this way, and it's not very good in a weekly format overall. Never really has been. But this next part is probably gonna be fucking sick. So, because that's how it works. It's like, you're like, oh, what's going on? And then he goes, this is what's going on. You're like, oh, fuck. Now I have to think super hard because I forgot what was going on. And I have to go back and read it again. Hopefully we get to go back and read it again with Yoshida, man. Fuck you, man. We fucking need that. We really fucking need that. I'm gonna be so fucking pissed if this story just ends like that. Because who fucking cares about Yoshida? Well, I did. I was interested. But if it's out like that, then who cares? He's some guy. Whatever. Anyway. I don't need to crash out 3 times. I don't need to. Fuck me. I'm excited for what's cooking with Asa's mom. My prediction is going to be something fucked up. And Asa's going to be like, oh, I don't think she was repressing the memories like some people say. Like she had false memories. I think she had some good memories. And she had some bad memories. And then the reason she had such self-loathing and really blamed herself for everything is because of the negative memories that she also had, and that makes her feel like she kind of wished for it in some way, and that's like, I'm a really terrible person, and da, and that's why she's so longing for like approval and acceptance and blah blah blah, and that would really explain why she has this like very codependent attachment with Yoru, who ends up being like taking the place of her mother, but in a way that's like, it's okay to be evil. And she's like, that's good because I am evil. Because I thought some bad things about my mom and then she died. You know? That would be kind of sick, but not in a way that's like Denji, locking the worst fucking thing ever in his mind vault in a way that's just like more normal. Like her mom was like strict or, kind of like controlling or whatever. It'd be very interesting if she was like controlling and domineering in a way that's parallel to like Yoru doing it. That would answer a lot of questions about Asa's behavior, etc., etc. It could be cool. We also just saw this parallel at the end of the chapter with her mother's stance and Yoru's stance, looking back over her shoulder, all this kind of stuff. And in the moment Yoru was talking about, she was saying this like motherly thing that was fucked up in a way. So, I think the ingredients, the sauce is there. I think this is a pretty good perspective that I'm coming in with. That's my guess. I think this one's spicy. I think this one might be right on the money. Hopefully it doesn't go for 4 weeks like her mom's like, oh, Asa. And then she's like, huh? And then warrior craziness going on, and then the death was like, he will become the heart of the universe, and everything will be the entire universe is what this dude's story is. Dude, the real Evangelion thing. It's like, Shinji, you now define the fate of humanity because, I don't know, man. Like, that's just kind of how the narrative worked out. Look, everyone is goo. Everyone is goo. What are you going to do about it, kid? Everyone's goo. And for some reason, you matter. I love Evangelion. It's so fucking stupid, man. He's this random Japanese, like, 14-year-old kid. And they're like, actually, humanity, if you think about it, is just like a horny 14-year-old guy and like a depressed 32-year-old woman and like a 16-year-old girl who wants to kill herself. That's pretty much it, if you really think about it. Anime sometimes. It's good shit. This Chainsaw Man is also good shit. And that's why we'll be discussing it again whenever the next fucking chapter comes out. Thank you everyone for listening to me fucking crash out about how weird and exciting and frustrating this story is on this episode. I love it, even though I kind of ranted my frustrations out on this episode. But I mean, I'm fucking loving it. Yoru's winning everything I could have asked for in the story, even though Yoshida's death was like, ugh. It was done pretty well. Those were two pretty fucking good chapters. I can't lie, which pisses me off. But they were pretty fucking good. Even though overall, you better have something, man. That's all I'm saying. You better fucking have something for this. Alright? You're on watch, buddy. And we will be watching for chapter 217. Not this week, but next week. We'll have another discussion on that whenever it happens. See you then. Bye-bye.